Hi everybody, this is Callie with Beautifully Inspired Now, and I'm so happy you're here. I wanted to talk today about oil infusions. Oil infusions are really fun to make. I have made them for many years and they're very easy to do. And especially in soap making. And I know there's a lot of people that have shown you how to do it, but I do a simple, real simple way to do it. Some people will say, well, you have to heat the oil up in the pan and then put the herbs in there. I don't do that because you end up cooking your flowers, and I don't like to do that. I like the natural process. The natural process can take 3 to 4 weeks. Sometimes I've left them for a month or two to really get the oils in the base oil that you're using. And so I'm going to tell you how to do it. I don't have anything to show you necessarily, but we're going to talk about it. So what you will need is you will need an oil of some sort. This is a basic olive oil. So you can use an olive oil, an almond oil, a grapeseed oil, any oil, canola oil, vegetable oil, whatever you make your soaps out of, it doesn't really matter. And then you will need a jar. Now, how big of a jar is really up to you. If you're only doing a soap for yourself and you just want to have a little bit of a flavor or scent, and you just want to make a small batch, you can do a smaller jar. Now, I always make them in these 1-quart jars only because I make about 1 or 2 soaps of these a year, and mostly I make them for myself. I really don't sell them, although I think this year we're going to go ahead and start selling them. So anyway, all you want to do is you want to go get your flowers out of your garden. Make sure that there are no bugs in them. Especially if you're vegan shop, you want to make sure there's no bugs in your stuff at all. And you want to shake your leaves out and shake out your flowers and make sure that there's no bugs in them. So and also make sure there's no chemicals in them. Also, like if you have a town where they go by and they spray on your side of the road, you definitely don't want to pick your flowers from there. Pick it from a source pick your flowers in your own garden from a place where there's no pesticides or chemicals used, if you want to do it really natural. Because some people, if you're using it for a business, are very allergic to some of those chemicals, and you want to make sure that your product is as pure as possible. So we don't use chemicals in our yard at all. I know that these flowers that I've picked here are very safe. So anyway, all I did is, this is lilac. Very beautiful purple lilac. You can't tell by the jar here because we've the colors leach out and they go away as they infuse into the oil. So this is lilac that we did, and all I did is I packed this jar really hard with the flowers after making sure there were no bugs. And then I added the olive oil in a little bit at a time, and what I did is I added it like a quarter of a jar at a time, because what I wanted to do is I wanted to make sure that the oil got everywhere in here and that there were no holes or spaces in there. So I poured it in, turned it around, poured it in again, turned it around, made sure all that oil got all the way in there, and then we just kept going up until we got to the top. And I only fill my jars up to this bottom ridge here. I don't, because I want this top piece right here and here. I need this airspace. Why do I need airspace? We need the airspace so that we can turn our product and mix it. And that's the only reason why you want to leave it open like that. If you want to fill it all the way up to the top, you could. However, I don't recommend it myself. I've had issues with it doing that, and so I wouldn't recommend it. But anyway, you want to tighten it down real tight. And if it's this one, I just opened up a little bit ago to check it, so the lid won't. The lid's a little open. If it's warm out, the lid might seal itself up, and that's okay. It just means that it's sealing itself up, and that's perfectly fine. So all you're going to do is every couple of weeks, just come in to where you've stored it, which you want to store this jar in a dark space, because you don't want it to you don't want mold to develop in here. So I put it in a cool, dark space and just leave it for about 3 weeks. And then I come back and then I shake it up, and then I look at it and I smell it. Does it smell like lilac or rose or whatever it is that I'm doing? If it doesn't, then I'll put it back in there and I'll just let it sit for a little bit. Usually on 3 weeks in my home, it's usually done. We keep our temperature in our house about 74 degrees. And so it works really well here in our house. If you have your home a little bit on the colder side, you might want to just let it sit for a little bit and just let those oils work out. So what happens in the process of you doing that? Well, flowers and herbs have natural essential oils in them. And what are essential oils? Simply put, if you crack an orange open and you see the little squirts that come out of it, the little sprays, that's essential oil. And flowers such as rose, lilac, lavender, they all have essential oils in there that are really beneficial for your skin and your body. And so when you put the olive oil in there, those essential oils are going to leach out or pull out into the olive oil, and you're going to have an olive oil infusion of flowers. Now, like I said at the beginning of the video, some people tell you to go and heat your oils up and then put the flowers in there and do that. Well, I'm sorry, I've done that a couple of times over the years, and I don't like heating up my olive oil like that. And the reason for that is that it can, if you're not careful, it can actually boil the flower and actually fry the flowers. So if you do that, you have to do it on low on the stove, as low as you possibly can, and then let it sit for several hours. I mean, you're going to let this go probably 6 or 8 hours in order for it to really leach out. I've heard a lot of different stories, but my personal experience is if you do it on the stove like that to pull out those oils, it's 6 to 8 hours to get a really good solid flavor mix, or scent mix, excuse me. So I always recommend just putting it in a jar and putting it away for a few months or a few weeks, and then just coming back to it to see how it is. Now, I've had this one sitting for about 2 weeks, and that's why I opened it up earlier to see what the scent was, and it's getting there. It's not quite where I want it to be, but it's getting there. So I'm just going to let this sit for a little bit longer, and then I'm going to squeeze out all that oil out of here, and then I will have a really good batch. I'll probably have about that much oil because this is all going to sink down. Alright, so I've made my oil. It's been a few weeks now. What do? Well, simply put, you're going to want to take a cheesecloth. This one's not ready to go the way I said show it, and get a jar. And then you're going to put the cheesecloth around it with a rubber band to hold this. And all you're going to do is very slowly pour this mix into that cheesecloth so that you capture the flowers and the oils and stuff go down into the jar. Now make sure you have a tall enough container that will hold all of this, because what's going to happen in the end is you're going to take that whole thing of flowers that have gotten into that cheesecake, and you're going to squeeze that thing until you can't squeeze anymore, and you're going to end up with a little tiny ball. I mean, this is a lot of flowers. This thing was like really packed, but when I'm done squeezing all this out and all those oils, there's only going to be maybe that much of the flowers left, because all of those essential oils and all that goodness is going to go into that oil. And you want to squeeze as hard as you possibly can, get all that goodness out. And then I just put my flowers into my compost bin out back, or you can spread it out in your garden and mix it in. It all decomposes into your garden really well. And then you have your oil ready for your soaps. Now, depending on what you do, like lavender, if you have the right lavender, is perfect for using in cooking, so you can use it for cooking. Lilac, I like to scent either my soaps, or I'll use a little bit of scent in my bath bombs. There's a whole gamut of different things that you can use that oil infusion for. Even just putting it in like a warmer and warming it up in the house with maybe some spices or something, and using it as a scent throughout your house, you can do that too. I mean, I've used these oils for years and made them for many years. A lot of times I use herbs. Usually garlic and rosemary and an Italian herb. Right now I have a garlic and olive oil, just a plain one, and I use that almost every day. I mean, it's consistent that I use it. So there's a lot of many uses that you can use for it, and it's really up to your imagination and how much of a scent you want to do. In soaping, my personal preferences when I'm doing my soaping is I just use the same amount of olive oil in my soap as I normally would. But I substitute this instead of my regular olive oil, and it takes in the scent. If you're doing your soaps and you're testing it out and you're not getting enough of a scent, you could go in and use an essential oil, especially rose. If you can get rose, rose is really expensive, so it's hard to find. But your lilacs and your, what's the other one? Lavender. Lavender is really popular. Lavender, chamomile. You could use those infusions like that. And then if you wanted to give it a little bit of a stronger scent because it was not enough for you, you can always just put in a couple drops of those essential oils to help bring out that scent. But I've never had a problem with it not scenting properly. But here again, I just, I use whatever my normal oil is in my soap is what I use my infusion for. So you could use any oil. I don't use castor oil though. It's the one I don't use. But you can do almond oil, or sweet almond oil. Olive oil is what I use myself, but you can use canola oil if you use those in your soaps. Vegetable oil if you use vegetable oil. Any of those oils will work. Just make sure that when you're putting that particular oil in your soaps that you use the same ratio or grams of this as you would normally use in your regular oils. That's all you have to do. It's a simple substitution. And then you just add in whatever other scents you want into it to give it that enhancement. Do a couple batches with your thing and play around with it and see what actually works for you. I've been doing this for a really long time, so I know my ratios really well, and I know, what I do. Another trick you could do is if you are pulling your oils and getting all those old flowers out and you find that the scent of the oil is not strong enough, if your flowers are still in bloom, you could add another fresh set of flowers into your mix already and then just let it go for another month or so, or how many weeks you want to, and then that should give you those scents. So the second time or even a third time, I had a batch of roses that I did 3 sets in my oil to get it to the scent that I wanted to. So, you just kind of have to play around with it and see what's best for you. But in that instance, what you do is you just do the normal process. You pull the old flowers out, you go through the process of the cheesecloth and squeeze it all down. And then when that's all down in, you put it back in your jar and you add more flowers to it and you just pack. And then you let that sit. And then if you pull that out a second time and it's still not strong enough and your flowers are still blooming, usually lavender and rose are really good for that. They continue to bloom for quite a while. I have a rose that is never ending. It consistently blooms. So, I don't have an issue with that one. And same with my lavender, because I use several different lavenders in mine to make a mix. So it works really good. But anyway, and then I'll do a third one sometimes if I have to. But I have one fragrance rose that I have never had to do a third. Most oftentimes, depending on the year, I usually do one session with it, and that's it. And the same thing with the lavender. So, I have really good infusions. But that means you have to pack those flowers in to get that enough of that oil infusion to work for you. And the same thing if you're doing rosemary or thyme or oregano or any of your other herbs, including garlic. You just have to pack it in really tight, let them sit in a cool, dark place, and then let them automatically, those oils leach out into the other oils and mix, and then you have that really good mix of scent. So there you have it. It's very simple. Oil infusions are the really simplest thing to do. They're not hard. Don't be afraid to go out and do it and make your own combinations. You could literally do just about anything. Dandelion is another one I do a lot of. I've done a lot of herbal remedy type. There's a plantain, and there's another one. Plantain, dandelion, and there's a third, and I can't think of the name of it right now, but I do a lot of that year-round for my for healing. I have cats, so I get scratched a lot, so I'll just put the salves on my arm. But I use the oil infusion to make those salves, which is kind of nice, because then I just you know, use the same ratio of what I would do with that salve, and I, you know, put that oil in there with my salve as I make it, and it works really well. So, you know, go out and try these herbal infusions. They're really, really, really a lot of fun, and I love making them. They're super easy to make, and you know, come back and reference this video anytime you want to, or reach out to me and ask questions if you have any questions. Honestly, your imagination is unlimited on this end, because oil infusions are so easy to make. So there you have it. So a little kind of a tip going on tonight, and I wish you all the best, and thank you for hanging in there with me, all of my viewers. I really appreciate it. Boy, life gets crazy sometimes, but there you have it. So oil infusions, I've got lilac going, I've got lavender going, and I've got a couple of, I got dandelion, marigold. I think I have one more, but I can't remember what it is going on, and we will show you how we do those in those soaps in one of the up and coming videos. I'll pull one out that's already ready, and we'll do maybe we'll add a little bit of honey and lavender. That would be really cool. So anyway, we'll work out some new stuff coming out, and go out and give this a try, definitely, and let me know how you do, or if you have any questions or comments, let me know. All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification button for more notifications of these great videos. And if you have comments or questions, please put them down below. So, and feel free to reach out to me. And if you're in the area of Yelm, Washington, and you want to come by and see my booth, we are now going to be relabeled to Beautifully Inspired. We are rebranded. I just ordered all my stuff yesterday, and it will be in, and hopefully I will have it up at the Yelm Farmers Market on Saturday, this coming Saturday. But if not, look for Jemminz, because we'll be there. So anyway, thanks everybody for joining me. I truly appreciate all of you, and I wish you all a blessed night. Thanks!